The A-League is back. Sydney FC get off to the dream start of the season, winning the Sydney Derby. Auckland, they also get off to a dream start, winning 2-0 over the Brisbane Roar in a sellout crowd. And I only picked up 2 points last week. I only tipped MacArthur and the draw between Central Coast and Melbourne Victory right. Marty also only got 2 games right, but he did get the correct score in the Auckland-Brisbane game. So that means the guests get an early lead here. They go out 4-2 against me, and I haven't made it any easier for myself this week. I'm taking on 2 guests. I'm taking on both the boys, Abs and Thomas from the UBF podcast. This week on Predicts, lucky enough to be joined by 2 guests for the first time on Predicts, the boys from UBF. How are you, fellas, and have you enjoyed the season so far? 1 week in.
I'm a happy boy. I've got my Alex Proskasson shirt right there. I can't complain. We won over the weekend. Thomas was at the game as well, and it was nice to see his frowning face after a 2-1 loss. So
it was good. It was good. But Dom, thanks for having us on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. We started. You were sort of someone that we looked up to, and it's honestly not, especially for me, being in the A-League since 11, 12 years old, and you were sort of one of those first to sort of get involved, and mate, we're really happy to be on, so we're excited.
Game week 2, game 1, MacArthur FC taking on the Newcastle Jets at Campbelltown Sports Stadium, the place where MacArthur absolutely demolished Perth last week, a 6-1 win. No one saw that coming, even the most optimist MacArthur supporter. Mariniakolis, Jed Drew, Jake Holman, and Velesian, man. That is a deadly front four for this upcoming season. And I think it causes real trouble for Newcastle. Newcastle, in my opinion, didn't look too bad last week. They probably didn't test Melbourne City enough, in my opinion. But I think there was promising signs. I think Wellesley looked good in points. I think Lockie Bayless and Costa Gross are going to make a good partnership in the middle of the pitch. It's just whether they can figure out their striker situation. I don't think Justin Vidic is the player to play in this Rob Stanton system, in my opinion, but could be very wrong. He could come out and score a hat-trick this game. But I'm going to go for a MacArthur win. I think they're on a roll, and I'm going to go for another high-scoring game. I'm going to go for a 4-2 MacArthur win in this one. First game this week, MacArthur taking on the Jets. MacArthur coming off the back of that absolute trouncing of Perth Glory. Do we expect them to do the same to Newcastle this week?
Listen, for me, MacArthur, we had our obviously predictions that you were involved in, Dom, as well. And myself, Abs and Alex and Joe on the show, also MacArthur top 4. I think that we've got a really underrated squad. 6-1 is obviously a statement in itself.
Yeah.
But man, Yakalish, Holman, they're both looking good. I honestly see the Jets coming off the defeat. I think 3-0 MacArthur.
Mate, you're about to see me glaze the whole Holman family this season. I swear to God. I think so too. Look, they looked good last week. Jed Drew as well looked good.
Sorry, yeah, Jed Drew as well.
Yakulich, I'll give you that, mate.
Mate, that's my fellow countryman there.
Yeah, like he done really well. He just played with them. He played with them last week.
It was on a streak.
And I'll be honest with you, Perth Glory played a Melbourne City who weren't really all that last week.
You mean Jets.
Jets.
Yeah.
Jets played City last week who weren't really all that. And to be honest with you, I think they're going to score. I think MacArthur are on a roll, and I think they're going to come up against the team. If they're going to half-ass it just that little bit, it's going to be at least 4. So I'm going to go 4-0.
Fair enough. Wow.
Game 2 of this week, Adelaide take on the Central Coast Mariners in what I'm sure is going to be a packed-out Coopers Stadium. First game of the season over there. It can only mean good things for Adelaide coming into this game. Central Coast, they're not in the greatest of forms, are they? They didn't look too crash hot against Melbourne Victory last week. I think they just lacked that little bit of cohesion up front between Quoll and Edmondson. And I think they're really missing someone like Miguel DiPizio in behind, like that Josh Nisbet of last season to kind of link it all together. I think they're really missing DiPizio at the moment. So I think once he comes back, they might start firing again, but it's still a little bit off from what I'm hearing. But Adelaide, I'm interested to see what they have coming into this week. I'm not overly keen on Adelaide this season. I think if they have the part, if they just get them all to mesh together, they could be a very good side. But I'm going to go for a surprising draw in this one. I think Central Coast, I don't know. I just don't think they're going to be able to get it done in Adelaide. I'm going to go for a 2-all draw. I just think Adelaide, in front of that home crowd, first game of the season at Cooper Stadium, I think they're just going to be able to pull something out of the bag. Next up, Adelaide get their season kicked off against the reigning champs, the Mariners. A sketchy start for the season for the Mariners. Do they get it kicking, or do Adelaide turn up in front of what imagine is a packed Cooper Stadium?
Yeah, look, I think the Mariners didn't look all too flashy last week. Well, was it Friday night they played, I believe?
Yes, Friday. Season opener.
Yeah, Melbourne Victory had their chances. They just could not put them away. And when it came to the Mariners, we didn't see too much of them. And that's not the Mariners we remember from last season, obviously due to them losing quite a few players. And I don't think they've replaced them rightfully. So I'm going to go for a surprise. I'm going to go to draw. I think Adelaide are going to surprise a few people.
I'm gonna sort of lean off Abs there. I think even in Asia, Mariners haven't looked good. I think it took Mikhail Doka thunder twat to get them going against Shanghai Port. And for me, I don't think they're going to have enough against Adelaide. Obviously, Dylan Perez, a friend of the show, is behind the camera there. He's basically telling us what to do. But no, I think Adelaide 2-1, to be honest. I think Adelaide 2-1.
Look, I think when it comes to the Mariners, I think Quoll looked really good. I can't lie. I think when it comes to the rest of the team, he was creating his own chances. I don't know if you saw through the game quite a bit. He was dribbling past one or two players and then getting taken down, and still yet the support hadn't actually come through. So I think there's a big reliance on him this season, but I don't think it's going to be enough. So yeah.
When you've lost the engine of Nisbet, it's going to be impossible to replace within a season.
Yeah, he was your best player. Absolutely.
Next game, and it's the big one of the round, arguably. It's the Melbourne Derby, City versus Victory. Patrick Norbo up against his former squad. Is that going to cause a bit of tension on the field as well? Who knows? It could be a very feisty derby, but Melbourne Victory, they're going to be out without Roderick Miranda for this game. I think that's a massive loss. An experienced centre-back in this league. Who will they replace him with? Is it going to be young Josh Rawlins? Is he going to be able to cope with the crowd of a Melbourne derby? Who knows? Melbourne City, once again, didn't fill me with a heap of confidence last week. Patrick Beach looked unbelievable in goal. I'll give him that. Marco Tillia with an early goal against Newcastle. I think they should have been able to score more against that Newcastle squad, if I'm going to be honest. If I'm a Melbourne City fan, I'm expecting more against a side like Newcastle. I'm going to go for a draw with this one. I just don't see either team coming out on top, and I'm going to go for a 1-all draw. It just got a stalemate written all over it, in my opinion. Next one, the big one of the week, you'd say, this Melbourne Derby. City, as you said, Abs, didn't look too flash hot last week. Victory had their chances, couldn't convert. Is it going to be more of the same as the Melbourne Victory, the Melbourne Derby? Because they didn't look too flash hot last year either.
Yeah, I agree. Good question. For me, I just think Victory are going to have too much. For me, I've tipped Yakalish and March Harsh to be around that Johnny Warren and Alex Tobin award for me, specifically. So I'm going to have to say Victory 2-1.
I'll tell you, I think there's going to be a bit of a shock here.
Okay.
I think 2-1 City.
Ooh, okay.
And I'll tell you why, because I just think even though they didn't look too flashy, I think Melbourne City were a bit more hungry. To be honest with you, you had a few players that just
against the Jets.
They looked just that bit more hungrier. Yep. Like you had players like Tulio. Tulio had his chance. Yeah. He took his first chance, but he kept going and going and going. Now, all 11 players on the field obviously weren't added to the standard that. And I said it last week. I said that they're for me going to be a bottom 4 team.
It's a big call.
Big call.
Big call.
But I think early on, if these 3 or 4 players can keep kicking, they'll get something out of these results on the chances of victory. Look, it's hard, man. They've got the superstars. They do. But they were a team that they weren't hungry. I'm using that word too much, but they weren't hungry enough. They had their chances.
Are you hungry yourself?
Oh, clearly. I think they didn't take their chances well enough. I think Fornaroli obviously was in that penalty. That might play on his mind with his form.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to, even their wingers, they had, I think it was the right winger for Victory. Valuplay. He had a couple of chances that he should have just put away.
Yeah.
He should have just tucked them away.
Yeah.
And he didn't take them. And I think it's chances like those, and you don't just see it in the A-League, you see it across the rest of the world. They'll play on your mind. They'll go into next week. Fornaroli doesn't score this week. He goes into next week. I haven't scored in 3 games. And he's not a player that generally...
As it's a derby. For me, they're going to get rid of it. For me, I think seriously, 2-1 victory, just purely because they got that firepower.
Third and final game for this Saturday night. It's going to be Perth taking on Wellington over in WA. Is Perth going to be able to bounce back from a very disappointing and pretty much humiliating first week of the A-League? David Zulich not having the best of times as head coach at Perth at the moment. It just didn't look good. The defense wasn't clicking. The attack, the midfield, for me, having an experienced midfield like that as well, just wasn't clicking at all. It was embarrassing. I'm going to put it out there. It was embarrassing for Perth. And I'm sure David Zulich will be very disappointed. And he'll be trying to right the wrongs this week. And over in WA, in front of their home fans again, I'm sure the shed will be absolutely rocking. Hopefully they're not too disheartened after that first week result. Wellington Phoenix, though, they didn't look too crash hot against Western United. I probably was expecting a bit more. Maybe they are missing those Marco Rojases and Paulo Ratres at the moment. But Ashige looks very good, and Costa Barbarouses, he just looks as sharp as ever. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Wellington win over in the West. I can't see Perth getting a result from this game, in my opinion. Maybe if they were, it'd be a late equaliser, but I'm going to stick with the Wellington win. We move over to what was the distance derby, now Auckland in the competition. It doesn't matter anymore. But Perth Glory didn't look too crash hot this last week. It was reminiscent of last season. Wellington, to an extent, struggled as well under a new generation with Chiefy. So how do we see this one going?
Look, it's Barbarousa's first target. Really, that's the way I'm gonna put it. I think whoever can stay on side, aka we're looking at you, Adam Taggart, will basically take this out. I think Wellington don't look like the Wellington of last season at all.
Okay.
At all.
Paulson's a big loss. Crave's a big loss. For me, Rufe still pulling up. Did we see the little L turn he did on the Western United player? Excuse me, what's the brother's name? But man, he's still sent to the shop, so I think he's still boarding the flight back to Melbourne. But man, he looks good. I think if you got him in there, you got Barbarousa's firing. Okay, the brother is in his late 30s. But I think, for me, Perth shocked me, I'll be honest. I'm going Wellington 3-1.
Ooh.
Because you still got Rufer in there, bro. He's a class act.
Look, their keeper, Alawemi, got him out of a lot last week. Out of a lot. There was even a point where he kicked it into the back of the player and then had to kind of like made some crazy. They actually keep it out of the net.
Yeah, but don't forget, Ollie Sale is a class keeper as well. Ollie Sale's a class keeper for Perth, and obviously, excuse me, Dom, is it in Wellington or is it in Perth?
It's in Perth. It's in Perth.
Okay, so the Knicks are travelling to see Ollie Sale back at his home. I don't know. For me, I just think 3-1.
2-1 Wellington.
Okay, 2-1.
I like it. First of the two Sunday kickoffs, Auckland take on Sydney FC. Steve Corica against his former side. In my opinion, one of the best defences of last week as well. Auckland taking on one of the best attacks of last week, Sydney FC. I think that is going to be a game to watch, especially Sydney FC coming off a long round trip. They've gone from Sydney to Hiroshima, in Japan, and then back down to Auckland. It's a lot of travel to put on these players. Are they going to be able to get up for a game like this against a tough Auckland side? You'd imagine it's going to be a pretty good crowd once again there in Auckland. I'm going to go for a draw in this one, and I just don't see Sydney FC's attack being up for this one and having the energy, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Next up, New Boys Auckland at home again. Steve Corica takes on his old side, Sydney FC. I think this is a massive one. The defense of Auckland looked great last week. The attack of Sydney looked great last week. I think we're in for a classic.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'll throw my prediction out nice and early. I think it's a 3-1 game.
Auckland's right?
Sydney. I think Sydney just look. They weren't even. I wouldn't say they were on it last week. Personally, I think we had chances that if we
never got out of second gear. Sorry, Karen.
No, we didn't. We didn't really.
Oh, of course, never.
No, because there were so many chances.
It's above you, isn't it? It's beneath.
Your team, of course. Yeah. Well, there were that many chances last week that I think if we were actually that bit more clinical, I think we were really sharp on the ball. I think when it came to our shooting, obviously even the first goal with Joe Lolly, he almost, that's not the Joe Lolly standard. He
Mm.
got it, he scored, but it kind of was a bit more scrappier than it had to be.
Yeah.
Even with with our winner.
Yeah.
You know, went off one head off the other, and we were lucky to actually get there with Kamala. But once that front three gets firing, and I think against Auckland, backs against the wall, you've got Anas Wahim, you've got Leo Senna in midfield, in front of them Caceres, who knows what it's like to be a Sydney FC player. Then you got Lolly, Klimala, and Costa. Good luck. Good luck to anyone in the league. So I think 3-1. I think even the boys at the back, Hayden Matthews and Popovic, they're just going to prove to be a whole nother level.
For me, the two people that I don't think are going to need luck is Dan Hall and brother's first name is Casey, but Saki, the captain of Auckland.
Yeah.
I think them two are going to hold up Klimala. I think they're going to hold up Costa, and I think they're going to hold up Lolly. Because for me, I don't see a way that those three are going to fire up after travelling from Sydney to Asia to Auckland. That's about 15,000 kilometres.
100%.
So for me, I think the trouble's going to get them. I think if Auckland score in the first 30, I think they're going to win the game. For me, I see them taking it out 2-1.
Look, I'll give you that. Sakai looked really good.
Sakai looked good.
I think Sakai.
Even Dan Hall as well, mate.
And even with Strata.
Yeah.
And the final game of the round is the two Western teams, Western United taking on the Western Sydney Wanderers down at Tarneet. Season opener down there for Western United. Can their fans make a bit of that difference now that they're fully established down in the area? Are they able to get behind them, create a bit of an atmosphere down there? Or is Juan Mata going to be just too much for them to handle because they didn't look too great against Wellington last week, did they, Western United? They just, in my opinion, as soon as Angus Thurgate got released and was able to push forward, they just looked 10 times better. It's just whether he's going to be able to play that more advanced role from the start against the Wanderers here. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Wanderers win. I think it's going to be a bit scrappy, but the Wanderers will walk away with the points, in my opinion. The two Western teams, the final game of the round, Western United, Western Sydney. Juan Mata goes down to the beautiful town of Tarneet. How will he go down there?
What a sentence.
From Tapas to Tarneet. Juan Mata.
Oh, God. No, for me, we'll get the ball rolling. For me, I'm going to do it nice and early. I think Western didn't really look promising. I think Wellington struggled, but I think they highlighted, and I think that made Western look better than they are. I think if your best signing is Iwasuki, I think you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in problems. They've got the new Red Bull sponsor down at Western, so hopefully that gives them a bit of wings, and hopefully they get going. But for me, 2-1 Wanderers. I think James Tamakoski, our boy, I think he's gonna see some minutes. I think he's gonna get a goal, and Juan Mata's gonna get his first assist.
Look, that Western United goal basically sums up how they're going to play this
season.
Of course. It was a really bad cross to a miss hit, and then he just smacked it. And I'm like,
it's the Red Bull, bro. They're adjusting to it. They're probably a V or a Monster drinker, and they're adjusting to it.
How they say, Red Bull gives you wings, and it gave them wings on the weekend, and they got themselves a point. But I agree. I think Western Sydney Wanderers actually looked,
decent.
You surprised me.
No, of course.
As a Sydney FC fan, we look down on you guys, but I can see you guys winning that game. I think it's a 3-1 Wanderers win. I think Juan Mata starts this game.
Yeah.
I think Western United, the way they play, it'll suit.
How's Costa? Is he still on the floor?
Don't worry about Costa. Okay. Costa got 3 points and went home a happy man.
Thanks for coming on, lads. You've obviously got the UBF podcast, which is doing bits. Any other bits and pieces that you can kind of tease to the channel?
Oh, salam. A domsballchat exclusive. Salam.
Ooh. Okay, well, I'll just say we've got a big few weeks coming up. Yeah. Some special guests.
Is that me?
No, mate. You're halfway out the door, mate. But there's some big guests coming on soon. We'll let you know in due time. I don't want to spoil that yet. I'll put it this way. What are we now on 23rd? So in 3 weeks' time, there's a big guest involved within Australian football.
Oh, well, there you go, Salam. The domsballchat's exclusive.
There we have it. There are mine and the UBF boys' predictions for this upcoming game week of the A-League. Make sure you go check them out as well. They're doing some great stuff in the YouTube scene and podcast scene. They're making a bit of waves at the moment, so make sure you go check them out. Good lads. But thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed like and subscribe to the channel, because we've got a lot of A-League content coming out, especially over the next month. We've got a lot of different and good things in the works, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel, make sure you like the video, and also make sure you drop your comments of your predictions this week. I want to know what you guys think is going to happen in this second round of the A-League, because it's one of the hardest leagues to predict in the world, in my opinion, and I've just made it a lot tougher for myself in this series, taking on 2 people this round. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like if you have enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.